Hey, good evening. It's Tuesday, August 29th, and welcome back to Everyday Talk 24/7. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. I wanted to thank you. I mentioned last night about going to see my oncologist today, and several of you offered prayers and just concern for that. And thank you so much for those prayers and interest and concerns. The really cool thing is that I saw my doctor today, and they did their yearly blood work and whatnot, and he told me at the end I didn't have to come back. I've been out long enough, been free long enough away from the cancer, and so there's no need to go back for the annual checkup. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll never have cancer again, but from their protocol, I was clear not to have to come back, and I was thankful for that. But I couldn't help not remember when my wife Ruth, she didn't get a similar diagnosis. With hers, as you know, if you've been listening to my channel, her cancer, her brain cancer, was fatal, terminal. And in October of 2013, the Lord took her home. But one of the things that we learned from that God taught us, and then Ruth and I came to just have a beautiful peace about, was that these test results, these meetings with the doctor, they don't determine whether or not God is being faithful. They just tell us how God is being faithful. And we both thought of the same passage when we were riding up to get her first MRI to check the progress of the radiation for Ruth and the treatment they've been giving her for her brain tumor. And initially it was quite positive. But we were driving up to Duke University, and we both thought of this same passage at the same time. It's in Daniel, and it's about the three friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're threatened by Nebuchadnezzar. You worship us. You worship this golden image that I have displayed, or I'm going to throw you into this fire. And it's a blazing hot fire. No one can withstand it. So he makes this threat to them. And the three guys say to him, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to rescue us from it. And he will rescue us from your hand, O king." But notice this, chapter 3, verse 18 of Daniel. But even if he does not, hey Echo, but even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you've created. You see, whether God is going to rescue them or not doesn't change their understanding of what it means to know God and trust him. Circumstances don't determine the outcome. You cannot determine God's faithfulness by circumstances, by the way things get off in our lives. That's not the way we get it. This book right here tells us that the faithfulness of God is determined by his character and his covenant commitment to me. And that never changes. That brought huge comfort to us as Ruth faced ultimately dying from the cancer. But it also brings great comfort to me today that God is not more faithful because the doctor said I don't have to come back. God is faithful because he's faithful. And that's our bedrock. That's our hope. Driving home tonight from the appointment, There's some storm clouds in the area, probably not connected to the hurricane yet, but still pretty strong storm. And then off in the distance, there was this rainbow. And it's in the thumbnail, and you can see it now. But it was just such a wonderful confirmation to me of God being faithful. Not because the doctor said I didn't have to come back, but because I know He is faithful. If He had told me that they had discovered, the cancer starting up again, God still would be faithful. He carried us through the whole time with Ruth. And these last 8.5 years, He's been faithful to me, just as He was faithful to Ruth. There are times when I wonder why the Lord didn't take me instead of her. I think things would be a lot better. But that's not a measure of God's faithfulness. He is faithful because He is committed to us. He is committed to bring about what is good in our lives, to cause us to see that honoring God is all that there is. And these three characters, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, back in Daniel chapter 3, 2,600 years ago, they said, "O King, our God can rescue us from this fire. But even if He doesn't, it doesn't matter. We will serve Him and not you." See, they understood how this thing worked. They understood God would be faithful whether they died in the fire or whether they survived. And that's the thought. Again, thank you so much for praying for me. And I pray you'll be able to take to heart. God is faithful, not because of the way circumstances turn out. God is faithful because He is a faithful God. And that is the beauty of being able to trust Him. And again, so great to be with you. And Lord willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great evening. Good night. Thank you for watching. May God richly bless you as you seek to live for His glory.